Speaking of Nickmercs, this one was actually kind of crazy. Nickmercs promoted his maskless event on Twitter in response to TwitchCon's new health guidelines for TwitchCon. So, those that didn't know, TwitchCon, it happens here in San Diego. I'm from San Diego. And TwitchCon, basically, Twitch tweeted that their new health guidelines, because a lot of people were asking about this, are not going to be, you have to wear a mask and you have to either be vaccinated or had a negative COVID test. So there was a lot of back and forth on it. I don't know. I was trying to look through the tweets, and I don't know if it's an overwhelmingly positive or negative response to it. I think the majority are just kind of like, okay, but Nick
Yeah.
Merckx is one of like the
Mm.
highest replies on that tweet, and he basically just said L, like it's an L for Twitch, and then he went on and retweeted that and said that FaZe is gonna be doing their own event in San Diego. They're expecting like, I don't know how many people, like 300,000 people attending or something, and they're promoting it as a maskless event, and they're not going to be checking vaccination status or anything. And it's in San Diego, so it's kind of crazy that he just directly just goes against Twitch on this. But I think it's interesting. It's interesting to see. What do you guys thought on it, Josh? What do you think? I think you brought it up to me.
Yeah, because at first, like, Twitch had no guidelines, and then there's a backlash on that. So
Yeah,
then they decided, like, okay, we're gonna put these guidelines. So, and then there's backlash on that. So it's like you can't really win or lose, or well, you can't pretty much you can't win in that
yeah,
situation because people are gonna either like, okay, like, because I don't believe everyone's vaccinated yet, so probably those are the people that are mad.
yeah,
But but
And
or they don't want to wear a mask. I mean, I really don't see a problem wearing a mask, but people just go overboard, like, oh, like wearing a mask kind of thing. So
yeah.
it's
yeah,
it's really weird situation. But I thought it was funny. Nick Merckx like replied and promoted his own event
Yeah.
in
It
that.
was almost like satire,
So
like
right,
promoting
it's
our
like
event,
like
100%
don't worry, you could
maskless.
come over to our event.
Yeah,
yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
it's kind of, yeah. I guess Nick Merckx always wants to be against the grain. He's that type of person, you know. Yeah, that's fine, but can does it, like Josh said, you guys said it. Does it really hurt you to put on a mask to get tested? If I don't know,
yeah,
300,000 people in an event run 2 months. Yeah, what could go wrong, right? Uh, I just I've heard people trying to do that before and it never works
yeah.
out. So it's
So
kind of it's not smart, but I
yeah,
mean, more power to you. If you can make it happen, make it
I
happen.
know. Here in California, technically, you don't have to be wearing the mask indoors and all that. But I think the state guidelines is it's strongly recommended for any event that's more than like 10,000 people, 5,000 people. So that'd be
Yeah.
like sports events and stuff. It's just strongly recommended. But when it comes to a private event, they can enforce the rules that they want. A few weeks ago, I mentioned it on our last podcast, I went to Comic Con at the San Diego Convention Center where TwitchCon is going to be held. And we did have to wear masks. It was mandated. Everyone has to wear masks, and we had to do either a negative COVID test or proof of vaccination. And it was not that hard, and it was super simple. I mean, I'm vaccinated, so it was a little easier. But they tell you, here's the free app that you download, and you update your vaccination card to it, and you just go through, you scan it, and then they give you your wristband so you can get in. And literally that was it. Once you were inside, literally everyone was wearing a mask. Everyone. Like even inside, I know a lot of people were tweeted like, you can't control people wearing masks inside. It's not gonna happen. I mean, Comic Con did it, and I'm not even kidding. Even the people that were there in like cosplay and anything, like I think I saw one dude that he didn't have it. He wasn't wearing his mask, and like security came up to him and was like, "Hey, can you put your mask on?" And the guy was just like, "Oh, I forgot. Like I forgot to put it on," and he just put it
Yeah.
on. And I honestly like believe him. I think he was like eating something and then just forgot to put it back on. And it wasn't even like rude or anything. He was like, "Okay, I'll just put it back on," and that was it. And literally the entire event, everyone was wearing their mask. Even like the speakers and stuff, they would just take their mask off before they would go up, and talk. And yeah, I mean, it was crazy to see that many people, to be honest, like following the guidelines and wearing the mask. Because I thought kind of along the lines of what a lot of these people in the comments of this tweet were saying, like, oh, people aren't gonna listen once they're inside. They're gonna take off their masks. And I've seen that happen at like concerts and like sports events and stuff.
Yeah.
When we first started having those again, but not at Comic-Con, and the San Diego Convention Center like found a way to actually like enforce those rules.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it looks like it's gonna happen. Like that's how it's gonna
It
be
should,
for TwitchCon.
yeah,
I
it's
think
The
it
just a
should
matter.
be. I think it should be. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
and it's just a
it,
matter of the
it'd be safe.
staff like reiterating. You know, so you keep telling people they're gonna listen. You
yeah,
know, and they're gonna get tired of someone telling them to keep putting on the mask. So they'll
yeah,
probably just keep it on. But I mean, at the end of the day, what I guess the worst thing that they did is make the change 2 months ahead of it. So people already made plans, you know, months ahead, and they don't want to go. So now they don't have an option.
yeah.
So that's
Comic
the
Con did the
worst
same
part.
thing.
But they
Comic Con,
changed it within like 2 months before.
yeah, it was just
Oh,
a few
okay.
months before they just posted a tweet. By the
Yeah.
way, like
Well,
your
well, I
badges
mean,
are
it's
on the
Comic
way.
Con, so it's a little different. I guess
Yeah,
everyone
that's
knows about
true.
Comic Con.
And also with
TwitchCon, they're like,
was there a TwitchCon last year?
no, there hasn't been.
Uh,
The first one was the one in Europe, I
Okay,
Yeah,
think.
the one that just happened a couple months ago,
okay.
or last month, I think, right?
And that one
So
had a COVID outbreak, so that's
yeah,
why I think they're doing this. So
maybe. So it's actually interesting because with Comic Con, well, I mean, we bought the tickets in 2019, and it just had been canceled all the way until now. So people had bought their tickets back in 2019, and then now we're being told a few months before the event, like, hey, we're sending your badges, and by the way, you have to follow these protocols. So
yeah,
there was some backlash for
yeah,
Comic Con as well. But I mean, for the most part, it was fine. But it's on also only really in the convention center, because with these huge events, especially Comic Con, same thing's gonna happen with TwitchCon. It's right at what's called in San Diego, right in front of the Gas Lamp District, and that's like where all the like the bars and the nightclubs are and all that stuff. And they don't require masks inside, so it's kind of funky that there's gonna be all these TwitchCon events happening outside of like TwitchCon proper. There's gonna be like right outside the door, and they're not gonna be requiring masks. So I kind
yeah,
of understand where people are coming from there too. Like my wife and I and our friends, we didn't attend any of those like any of those things outside of Comic Con because we're like it's gonna be too much and COVID's a thing, and we just weren't comfortable with it. But at the same time, we weren't like judging everyone that was going out and doing that. We just kind of
yeah,
went back home, did our
yeah,
own thing, right? And but those people, like a lot of people are complaining that that's what's gonna happen anyway, so why even require the masks? So
yeah.
yeah,
But you can't. I guess you can't just be like, oh, well, that's gonna happen. So why are you doing this? You know, it's just kind of they have to stick, which they should have done it originally. It's a big event like that. It should have been masked,
yeah,
especially in California, at least. But like you said, I mean, no one's judging people. It's just, hey, if you don't want to go to this and it really matters to you that much, then just don't
yeah.
go. That's fine.
I also don't know what
I
the
mean,
refund policy is right now. Like if
I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not going to refund people. I mean,
yeah,
they're. I think once you buy the ticket, it should be like, you know, we're allowed to make rules based on health guidelines, et cetera, et cetera,
oh
et cetera. So
probably
it's like, yeah,
in like their
I,
terms and conditions, yeah.
yeah, it has to be in there. Pretty sure.
They should be able to resell it to somebody. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's true.
you can resell it.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure if it sells out the same type of way. I think tickets are still available. I was looking a few days at them. But
Yeah.
it's like $130 a day, or like 250 for all 3 days.
Yeesh.
So yeah.
I mean, don't be surprised if the Nickmercs things goes ballistic just because like I said, 300,000 people. If that's what they're expecting, or even if it's 100,000 people, um, in 2 months, that sounds like disaster. So I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if some shit went down that day.
Yeah, we'll definitely we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I was pretty excited for TwitchCon regardless. I think there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff coming out of it. Um, as there is every year. I wonder how the meet and greets are gonna work if they're coming out with these health guidelines. If you just like 6 feet away from the person and take a picture, I don't know. Because a lot of TwitchCon is meet and greets, right? Like that people wait in lines
Um,
just to meet their favorite streamers.
Yeah, but in
Mm.
Europe, they were next to each other taking pictures. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah, I
it'll be
think
the
it's. I
same.
mean, they're gonna have masks on, right? So
Yeah.
I guess in that sense, it's like if you don't know how to take care of yourself now, I guess it's it's been already
Yeah.
2-3 years.
I mean, I'll admit that I found it weird that because I mean I'm vaccinated, but that doesn't mean I can't get COVID, right? Like my wife is
of course.
vaccinated and she got COVID, so I always found it weird that if you were vaccinated, you didn't have to show a proof of a negative test.
Yeah,
Because I thought it would just make more sense to just be like across the board, you have to have a negative test to get in, regardless of
Yeah.
vaccination status. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. That's what would
but-
make more sense to me personally. But in the end, it's a private event. Twitch can do whatever they want with it, and that's what they're going with. And it seems like it was more of a response to some of the people, especially in California. This is TwitchCon is in California. We know in California it's a big deal to be vaccinated and do all that. Even though San Diego is kind of one of the more conservative cities in California, it still has a lot of people that are getting vaccinated and follow mask mandates and really want to be safe out there. So in my opinion, the safer the better. But again, people will have options. They can go to the phase event instead. Right?
You're right.
Fun.
So we'll see. We'll see how that works out for them.